Hilditch on a partnership with a charity, a trust. How did this relationship end? Tell me a little bit about
Amalthea Trust, yeah. So the Amalthea Trust started well before I was involved with Hilditch. Mike and Nikki Hilditch, who started the business here, are also trustees on the board at Amalthea. There's some other trustees who generally come from backgrounds in clinical engineering within the NHS. So the Amalthea Trust is completely separate to Hilditch, but we have an intrinsic link, shall we say. The trust itself centres around the provision of biomedical engineering, teaching skills provision to developing nations, really. So this is born out of part of our industry, I guess, where in years gone by, equipment would be donated, or in some cases purchased, shipped to a developing nation, maybe used for a short period of time, or maybe never used at all. And then they've run into the problem of, how do we fix it? How do we maintain it? This is a world in the UK. You can imagine how this works because you've worked in this world. But when the equipment is shipped to Uganda, who do you call to fix your sea hull? Who do you call to fix your operating table? So the idea behind the Amalthea Trust was to utilise some of the experience and the knowledge within the NHS, within the clinical engineering world in the UK, and how can we impart some of that knowledge into developing nations? So the trust have run over the years a number of different university courses, a number of different training courses in various countries, mostly across Sub Saharan Africa, to educate medical engineers. So the link with Hilditch is at various levels. So we've used our facilities here to hold video conferences and literally online courses for people to dial into. We've used some of the equipment that we have in stock here as demonstration equipment. Our engineers have taken part in terms of writing courses, in terms of delivering some of those lessons, if you want to call them lectures, demonstrations. And obviously, like I say, Mike and Nikki sit on the board of trustees. You may have seen at the EBMA Expo, we often have Amalthea sort of sharing a little bit of space on our stand there, which gives them a window, an outlet, a platform to medical engineers more widely. What they're really looking for, I guess I'll give them a little plug here. What they're really looking for, as I mentioned, is the expertise and the experience within clinical engineering in the UK and how they can utilize that to impart the knowledge. At one level, that's them paying for, so like a salesman here, an all expenses paid trip to an exotic location to deliver in person some of that expertise. You know, if you work in an organization and you've worked with anesthesia and ventilation for 10, 15, 20 years, you've got a lot of knowledge you could impart to someone who's coming across this for the first time. So they do run literally trips to run some of these courses, or like I say, writing course materials, you know, writing down some of that knowledge you've picked up over time and how you can pass that on, all the way down to, like I say, delivering kind of video link, online lessons, things like that. So that's what the Amalthea Trust are looking for. So I'll give them a little plug here to your audience. But if you want more information, then there's plenty on their website. I think it's amaltheatrust.org. Links from the Hilditch website as well, and they'd be happy to talk about that at great length. Before the resale industry really got going, there was a lot of donation of equipment. You know, hospitals thinking they're doing the right thing. We don't need that equipment anymore. Let's donate to someone in need, which is a great idea until it breaks or until it needs servicing. So it's identification of what ecosystem needs to go around medical equipment to make that work. There's no point. I'm trying to think of a simplistic example that's not too flippant. You know, give someone a pair of shoes, but if they're the wrong size, it's not actually that helpful. Whereas with the resale industry now being more developed, they often have some purchasing power. You know, they can purchase equipment at a fraction of the RRP price through companies like ourselves. And then what they're looking for is ongoing servicing expertise. So the more engineers we can train in those kind of developing countries, the better their healthcare system is going to work.